Hi, I'm Cote and I'm a mixed media artist and have concentrated the last couple of years with working with fiber. I'm privileged enough to be part of the textile project for the region. And it is a triptych, which is 3 pieces that combined together will make one full picture. They will be stretched on frames separately and then hung as one piece. So there'll be 3 separate pieces that make one complete piece in the end. There's 3 artists. We're all working from the same photo and we've divided it into 3. And I am working on the left section of the third. So this is the original third of the photo that I'm working on. And you can see I've got all the length of it done. And what I've done is just basically lined up the colors in sections so that I have the proportions right. This is a very realistic photo, and I'm trying to keep still my look as an artist, my signature look, in my style. The first thing I need to do is have a base for the background of this piece I'm making, and rather than have one solid color and then add colors on top of that after, I'm going to do it all in one process. So I've selected the colors that I want and the fabrics that I want, and now I'm going to cut them and show how to sew so you don't get a complete straight stripe. You'll get wavy curves and you'll get a little bit more effective look that way. So these are the 2 pieces I've picked first, the 2 colors. So I'm going to lay the one on top of the other, and then rather than using a ruler and cutting with the rotary cutter, I'm just going to make a curve like that. Okay, now I have 2 pieces. So I'm going to remove this one and I'm going to use that one. I'm going to sew those 2 together that way. So once you have those 2 pieces sewn together, you select the next color you want, you lay it on top there again, and you're going to cut again. You move this one away and that one, and you'll sew that together. The texture is very important, especially when it comes to the rocks. The rocks, you don't want them smooth like the fabric is naturally. So I've selected the fabric that I want for the rocks, and this is the process that I use to create the crevices in the rocks and to give it some depth. So I've wet my piece of fabric, and I have a hot iron. I've wrinkled it up just with my hands, and I take a hot iron and I just press the steam on it. And then I'll take some spray starch and keep doing this until it's dry. And then to give it a nice edge, I fold these under. Okay, I'm trying to find a lot of different things to use to give it different textures, and I found these great feathers that'll give it a little bit of a mossy kind of feathery look, but I also have some moss that I will sew inside, and these twigs I've made from silk and my branch here that I found. So now I'm going to build up a thickness and a dimension. The hardest thing to do is when you're working from a realistic picture, especially with leaves, there's clumps of leaves, and instead of doing every individual leaf, you want to do an illusion of a group of leaves, and that's when the fabric works the best for you, because you can cut the overall shape of an entire clump of leaves, but you can isolate by stitching with the sewing to make it look like there are smaller individual leaves inside that big piece. Okay, one of the biggest challenges of this piece to me is the water. We tend to think of water as really, really powerful, especially when it's rushing over the rocks. It's very hard to portray that and yet have it look misty too. The selections that I've come up with are these tulle, and I will sew it down like onto the cloth, put the green underneath, and then I will rip this and fray this. The heavier water, I will use the roving, because it'll give me the solid white for the thickness of the flow, and then yet the water can disappear into smaller streams this way. How I'm going to quilt this piece in the end is with a long arm machine, which is an industrial type of sewing machine that you work manually. It allows you to put very large pieces onto a frame.
Hi, I'm Suzy Dwor. I am an American living in Canada for the last 20 years, originally from Cleveland. I am an artist and a trained educator. I have been working in this studio for 24 years, and I also teach in the public schools part-time, and I did teach at Buffalo State College in the textile design department. My trials with green, when I received the photograph to repeat it, I turned to a friend and whispered, I didn't want to make a public announcement, I hate green. I don't like green, especially tree green, because it can be a cliche when you have to repeat it. It really disturbed me, and I didn't know how I was going to finish this project. One day I went outside and sat in my chair and I stared up at the trees. I went and got a beer in a green bottle and I played classical music and I said, trees, how do I do this? And it hit me after half the beer that I am going to recreate the sound of the trees, the wind, the rustling of the leaves, the light coming through, that beautiful sensuous experience of being under that tree and looking up, and the sound of the tree. The wax is about 360 degrees, and I have these homemade stamps made out of cording and varnish, and they're dipped into the hot beeswax. I wait a few minutes, heat that up, and lately there have been a lot of bees coming and visiting me because I'm attracting the bees in the garden. And you can see it's melted now. I dip, and I press and press. And dip, and I go in different angles, almost like foliage. There's a bee right now. Look at that. Here he is. This is the roots this is a root stamp, so I'll do a section of roots, and I have to lift this up so it doesn't stick to the paper. You have to move quickly on this, and a lot of it is very spontaneous. You just work with what you get, and that's the beauty of it. And then this little tool, this is for drawing, and it has a little weld in it, and the hot wax goes inside, and then it runs out, and you can draw details with this. So I did a lot of drawing particular foliage, roots, rocks, and I end up with the waxed paper ready to paint. This has been waxed, and then they are covered in and painted with the washes, the acrylic washes, and combining and layering the colors that I saw in the photograph. After the paint dries, then I take newsprint and I heat, and I pull and melt the wax out from the newsprint and lift it off. If you ever spill candle wax on a tablecloth, this is how you get it out. So we just remove this. You can see the wax showing up, and then we just keep removing and removing until the wax has been totally removed. You can feel it. Sometimes the wax can be left in a little bit. It has a nice honey color to it because it is beeswax. And this was done on white paper, so the white shows through. This was waxed on already a green paper to get that deep dark foliage. And then I painted darker green over the tops. I have collected wood and sticks, been fascinated with the repetition of sticks for at least 20 years. Photographing them, I paint them, I use them in my sculptures. So this time around I was able to use them in the root system of the tree, which I found very easy and the most rewarding on this project. This has been a truly interesting process. It's finally I get to use my beach class, my green beach class. I've been collecting for 15 years. I really never liked green, but I found a use for it. And the sticks in the yard, and I really am living with trees. I really have a reverence for trees now, from the roots all the way up to the sky. And I'm looking forward to seeing the other two panels next to me. They're really incredible quilters.
Hi, I'm Irma Bull, and I'm working on the Textile Art project for the Cultural Capital of Canada in Niagara. My first thought was, I can't believe that they chose me. And my second thought was, oh my goodness, what have I got myself into? There's so much to do, and the project that I have has so many green leaves, and how do you get that feeling that the leaves are moving and that there's different colors in the leaves as well. So it took me a while to get over that. And I think it's the creative process where you kind of feel that you can't possibly do this, and then you kind of play around, and then you realize it's okay. Everybody is feeling like that. We're all feeling overwhelmed that we can't do it, and yet you find a path and you find a way to do it. And just one thing builds on the other.
No.
I was really lucky because I was able to go to all the fabric stores in Niagara, and I bought fabrics. And just to make sure that I didn't get confused, I put them all in these little bits. So I had lots of fun, and I also went to Value Village and got little pieces of yarn, and also got these little bits and pieces from the dryer that I'd saved. And anything you have, you can put into the quilt. But we just love the colors and the different ideas. Some of them went into the quilt and some of them didn't make it. All right, I had decided to use different fabrics to complement what I had, but some of them were just too heavy and I wanted some lacy kind of look. So I couldn't find anything in the stores or in my stash. So I got cheesecloth, and just with an ordinary brush, I just painted it, and I like the effect because you get different colors. If you add different ones, and you can twist it, and it really makes it a kind of a nice effect. And I also dyed silks, and I used markers, and then I painted the silk, and that was great fun. I actually had these in my basement and I forgot all about them, and voila, there they were. It's great to have these finds. This stuff is great fun. It's so pliable, and you just kind of shape it, and you can mix the colors in together, twist them, and you get something totally different. So I baked it in the oven, and it turns out like this, and it's quite hard and solid, and you can see the different kinds of colors in it. Yeah, that's the fun of these projects. You just get to play. I'm always collecting pebbles. In fact, my garage is full of boxes and pails of pebbles, much to my husband's chagrin. So I use them in my gardening, and I'll use them in art projects. I've sometimes put them on quilts, and now I've started doing mosaics so that he doesn't feel that it's a useless thing to have all these pebbles around the house. This stuff is great too. You can find this in construction sites. Usually they're cutting stuff off and they have a few loose pieces. So whenever I see that, I just pick one up. And all you do is take an iron, or you can take a heat gun. I've tried both. And as soon as you have the iron hot enough, the stuff, it just puffs up like this. And then you can paint it, or it's easy to sew through there. You can sew beads onto that, so you can attach it to your fabric, and it's not hard, but it looks almost like rocks. It's great stuff. This was actually a brilliant idea that my friend Roberta came up with, and she suggested that we just put this on plastic. Roberta's doing another part of the artwork, and that would make sure that we're keeping the things in the right spot, because we have to meld with the other two in our project. The fence actually goes through all the panels, but they have foliage over it, so you only really see it on my panel. And when you look at the picture at first, you don't see that. And so I thought I would bring that element out. But how do you make a fence? So I tried different fabrics, didn't work. So I was taking onions out of a bag one day, and I thought, onion bags. So I tried that, and that seemed to do it. Yeah, I decided to add people to the project, because I always think in nature it's a living, breathing thing, and there's animals and there's always people going out into nature. And I also feel that people are spending too much time in the malls with their kids, and they need to bring the kids to nature. There's that healing element of nature, and that grandeur and beauty.
One of the exciting things about this project is that the artists we have all met, but nobody has seen what the other artist has done. Even though there's 3 of us working on one piece, I have not seen the other 2 artists' work. And it'll be nice at the opening ceremony to have the same reaction as the public will. It'll be the first time that we see the 3 pieces together as one.